All right.
All right. Welcome to the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate Monday night. Winter frost is across the country. I don't listen to a lot of news right now because it drives me nuts and I'm tired of the cycle, especially with politics. But all they're doing in the Iowa caucus today, tonight, last night is complaining about how cold it is. And I know it's almost equal to what we have, but it's not quite. It's not minus 37, right? So, okay. Hi, Taylor. Hello, Heidi. Tonight is about being prepared in your business for adversity and how do you move forward. And I think it's a good topic based on the adversity that I'm currently experiencing. I'll tell you about in a minute. And I think it's important to be prepared in business for any types of adversity. It goes along with the foundational elements we've talked about here for so long as it relates to having a business plan, having discipline, having consistent pursuit of things. Being prepared for adversity is across the board. And you will find that if you build a foundation, a strong foundation is built, then you have the ability to overcome adversity much easier than those that have not built anything. So I'll start with this story because we like to do that. Rod's famous for that. And I'll give a little adversity story. So about, 12, 13 years ago, I was racing what they called the vintage Baja 1000 in a 1957 Chevy that had been rebuilt for off-road use. And I arrived in Baja to our usual shenanigans and the kickoff party and all the things that we all do. And there's typically about 200 to 300 competitors. And one of the organizers came up to me. He's also in charge of the PR. He said, "Hey, Jim, I know you're usually pretty easy to work with. Would you mind taking the editor of Hot Rod Magazine with you and your team for the first day or two to experience the vintage Baja 1000? And of course, he was right. I'm usually pretty easy to work with. And it was a quick yes to take Alana Share with me on the vintage Baja 1000. It's appropriate that Wayne's here tonight because he was on this trip with me. So at any rate, Ilana had been down for the races before, and we integrated her into the team, which meant she would be in what we call a chase vehicle, which would follow the race course down the highways from Ensenada to Cabo, which is roughly probably 1,600 miles on highway, maybe 1,800 miles on highway. We were doing 1,400 in dirt. And the job of the chase team is to get past us, fuel us, be there to help us if we needed anything as we came by in the dirt. So day one, had a great, flawless day. Day one, car was running perfectly. And we decided because of that day two, I would allow Alana to get in the race car and race with me for about 190 miles. And this particular part of the course went from the Bay of LA, which is on the Sea of Cortez side, all the way across the peninsula to the Pacific side. And in between, it's very, very desolate. So we took off from the starting line. Car was running great. And team was doing their job. They were where they needed to be, et cetera. So we had prepared. We had prepared for anything until we broke. And funny story about breaking down is we broke in the middle of nowhere. Alana, being a hot rod enthusiast, said, "Hey, I think we blew the motor." Me being a stubborn male, I said, "No, we didn't." And we went back and forth as oil was draining out of the car as fast as it could. She's like, "I'm pretty sure we blew the motor." And I'm like, "Pretty sure we didn't." In the meantime, a guy, husband and wife, rolled up in a Subaru. Imagine being in the middle of nowhere and somebody like Rod rolls up in his Subaru, his trusty Subaru he talked about last week. And he's from Canada, and there's a lot of Canadians that tour Baja like that. He says, "Hey, you guys need help? You need a tow?" Well, there was no way I was going to have a Canadian couple in a Subaru haul my race car out of the desert at that particular moment because I was still fighting the fact that we were broken or not. Anyways, we did come to the conclusion, or I finally admitted that we were broken and we needed that tow. So I put my tail between my legs and walked across the dirt road to the guy that was sitting there taking pictures, waiting for me to ask for help, and asked him for help. Well, he pulled us out of the desert about 30 miles. And I know he was having his best life ever because I could see him waving at me in my windshield, and he's in his rear view mirror laughing at us. Anyways, here's where being prepared for adversity came in hand. Because Alana says, well, I guess the race is over for us. I said, no, it's not. This is a 5-day race. We're a day and a half into it. The team will come up with solutions because they know I never quit until the race is officially over, which would be 3.5 days from now. And, testament to the team and knowing how I run the team is we got pulled all the way out to the highway to a crowd of people, a bunch of kids looking for stickers and photographs and autographs, which we did. And then I talked to the team manager, said, well, what do you guys think? And they said, well, we've already called ahead to some mechanics down in La Paz. There's a motor down there for sale that we can buy when we get there. So we towed the vehicle up on a trailer and drove for about 7 hours down the highway, got to La Paz. As it turned out, there was no motor available. That guy was fabricating the truth. But, being as it may, in Mexico, everybody wants to help. The security guard at the hotel said that he had a 1987 Chevy Silverado. He'd be willing to sell us for $1,200, and we could have the motor out of it, which would be a perfect fit for the race car. So we rented a garage for $100 down the road, and we bought that truck for $1,300, negotiated $300 back if we gave him his carburetor back when we were done using it. So that was weird. Let him keep the whole truck except for the motor, which we kept. And we wound up swapping the motor and getting back in the race the following day and still had 2 more days of racing. We didn't win, obviously. We didn't even place, but we did finish. And so here's the moral of the story. The team is always ready for adversity because that's what we get in Mexico. That's what you get in racing. That's what you get in the desert. You're prepared to do anything to win or finish or get the car as far as you possibly can. And that requires working as a team, being creative, thinking outside the box, working together once you come up with solutions, and all the things that go with adversity, but never, ever giving up. Don't give up because of adversity. Use all the tools that you have in your war chest. And that means, in my case, every single person on our team played a role. There's some awesome pictures I have of Wayne taking a shower in a 5-gallon bucket in the dirtiest garage you've ever seen in your life after swapping the motor out. One day I'll share the photos on this Zoom call. But everybody pulled together. Matter of fact, we even created some memory for the townspeople because the garage that we rented, by midday, we had about 40 people there, 40 spectators watching us swap out the motors. And then some guy came up from the ocean and brought 2 5-gallon buckets full of fresh clams. We bought tacos and beer, and we literally were having a party in this garage as we swapped out a motor, and we built friendships for life. So by taking that adversity and turning it into a winning attitude and a never giving up attitude, we wound up finishing building relationships along the way, lifelong friendships, lifelong memories, not only with our team, but with some locals down there. And the bonus on top of all that, don't forget, I had Alana integrated in our team from Hot Rod Magazine. She gave us a 7-page story in Hot Rod Magazine. Now, if you're not familiar with the magazine, that's fine. It doesn't exist anymore. It's online now. But 10 years ago, it was a very popular magazine for cars and auto enthusiasts. The value per page was $25,000 per page. So what it allowed me to do is turn that adversity into a finish, into a win in the magazine, into my PR plan to garner more sponsorships. And when they said, well, what value do you bring to us? And on top of all the other magazine articles that year, that particular Hot Rod Magazine issue garnered $175,000 in media value, which in turn at the end of the year brought me 6-figure sponsorship opportunities, right? So by never giving up, by pushing through, making it happen, we were able to garner another year's worth of sponsorships in the 6-figure range because of all of that, right? So when you think the worst is about ready to happen, dig deep and push through that adversity to get to the other side. Wayne's on the call. I just curious if Wayne wanted to add any color to that story. Wayne, what do you think? Got any color for it? He's probably fumbling trying to find the mute button. All right. Well, if he
Can you
figures
guys
out,
hear me?
yeah, go for it. Any color?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Guys, yeah, that was quite an epic trip, you know. We were definitely, it was a little bit different on the other side of it. We were waiting in the desert, like, when's Jim gonna show up? Because he was broken down and there was really no contact. So we're ahead of him as the chase crew, and we're like, nope. And then we got a little bit more radio. He showed. Then we finally heard that he was broken. So then we started calling down. Got the motor lined up, and then we show up, and then the motor's not lined up, and then we had to get the other motor lined up, and that was the easy part. So, but yeah, no, that was a fun trip. Doing that, and yeah, it was one of those things where you just don't give up. Zero sleep, lots of tacos, and a lot of fun work. You know, one of those that I'll never forget now.
Yeah. Thanks, Wayne. And you know, kudos to Wayne and how he runs his business. And I've always known Wayne to be, and that's a person that doesn't give up ever, right? And so that's the first thing I want you to take away from tonight is overcoming adversity and seeing the other side of that is never give up. And so in the race scenario, we didn't give up until the race timed out. And that's the official time where the organizer says, okay, no more cars can cross the finish line. The race is officially over, right? We still had 3 days for that. And we were going to go as hard, as fast as we could to make that. Didn't even matter where we got by the time they called it. We weren't going to stop until they called the race. And business is just like that. You can push through until you can push no more and you've hit the finish line. And I think too often we sell ourselves short by quitting or thinking that you're not good enough or people don't want your product or you don't have what it takes. And all those are the things that we tell ourselves that we need to get past. And it's one of the reasons why I like the discussion last week about discipline. It's why I like what 75 Hard brings to us. You know, we feel like we want to give up, but yet we've built some mental toughness through the 75 Hard program or other things that we've done in our lives. And we realize that we can overcome the problems that are in front of us, the adversity that's been placed upon us for whatever reason. Before you guys got on the call tonight, I was talking to Rachel and Rod. If you haven't seen Montana weather, it was minus 37 degrees on Saturday, which is the coldest day we've had in Montana, they said, since 1971. I don't know how accurate that is. Doesn't really matter to me. Minus 37 is pretty horrible, no matter how you slice it. Our heater blower went out in the house. And instead of getting depressed about it and upset and all these things, I called in a friend, asked him to send a tech out the next day, which he came out on a Sunday. He said, your blower's out. You know, we got to order the parts. We're probably going to be out of warm air until Wednesday or Thursday of this week. But we rallied as a family. We got some floor heaters. We're making the most of it. We're watching movies in the room and just dealing with it. You know, time to eat breakfast. We move the heaters to the kitchen, warm up. Kids go next door to the neighbors. You know, we're not going to let this get in our way of doing what we have to do as a family to push through this, right? An adversity that we didn't expect. Again, that's how business and how life is. It's how you dig deep, find the grit that you've earned in your life and putting it to work. Okay. So those are just examples that I have, recent live examples. I know everybody here has some stories that they've overcome, especially as it relates to adversity in their lives. And I would challenge you to look back at those times and think about what you did and realize that you're on the other side of it. So if you're on the other side of it, then you can be on the other side of it now, and you can be on the other side of it in the future if it comes your way. Don't be distracted from what you're trying to accomplish. So a few tools to do that. One, as I said, never give up. Two is recall those times, things that you've overcome adversity. Three is leverage your foundation that I brought up when I first started the call. Leverage the foundation that you've built in your business or in your life so that when adversity comes, you can look back at your business plan, look back at, your goals, or look back at your values and leverage those things to get you back on track or to stay on track. Don't be diverted from what's right in front of you. Because oftentimes that's not really the issue. The issue is your confidence to push through it and get beyond whatever's right in front of you. So go back to your game plan, the plan that you built when you started this, whatever that is. And if it's your life, go back to the plan that's important to you and your values that you have. Get back on track. Don't be diverted from that. Okay. The next thing is have some reserves. Okay. There's a lot of ways that you can have reserves. You can have reserves in energy because you've built up the physical strength and stamina to overcome the stress or the problems or the anxieties that come your way. So I would highly encourage you to have some type of mental health, physical health, and diet health program. I'm sure Heidi would agree with me on that, that by having those things in your life, you will be stronger in the things that come your way, especially adversity. Heidi, you look colder than I do right now with your scarf on. So if you have not placed an emphasis on your mental, physical, and your diet health, do so now. I said it a few weeks ago, 2024 is going to be terrible as it relates to things that come our way that are going to create anxiety and stress. Don't wait till November and look back and go, God, I wish I knew. Because I'm telling you now, it's January. You got a whole year of this business to deal with. All you got to do is turn on the news, Fox News. They'll tell you all the problems we're going to have, right? Or CNN, whatever your choice is. So there's another tool for you. Mental health, physical health, and a good diet. It's why, and I haven't even talked about it. I'm not going to make a thing about it. I'm really not posting about it. But I jumped back on 75 hard January 1st. Whether I get through all 75 days or not, any day that I can check off that I've done, I know I'm healthier and I'm stronger and I'm better prepared for whatever comes my way. It's just the way that I feel I need to be this year. And so far, it's been working great. Okay, so equip yourself that way. That's what I'm calling a reserve. Look at your cash. Look at your financial reserve. You should be prepared financially for adversity in your business. There's two types of cash that you should have. One, emergency cash. If something goes down, if business fails, you should have some emergency cash to get you through to the other side of that. Just like in your personal life, having some emergency cash to get you through some tough times. They say 3 to 6 months is the right number. Okay, whatever works for you. And if you don't have that, work towards it. Even if it's $100 a month or $50 a month, because the important thing is that you develop the habit of creating some reserve emergency cash. Okay, and eventually you'll be right where you need to be. Literally, I don't care if it's 25 bucks. It's about building the habit to get you where you need to be. If you're flush with cash, now's a really good time to put aside some emergency cash. Okay, and that's just that emergency cash. The other side of that cash equation is just a cash reserve, especially as we go into the economic times that we can expect to see this year. If you've got some cash reserve that you can take advantage of a market that's going to be going up and down, businesses that will be failing, assets that'll be sold inexpensively, that you can bolster up your own assets for pennies on the dollar, you can use your cash reserve for that. So cash reserve and emergency cash are two things that you can also build up to help fight off adversity. Okay. Next thing, don't slow down on your client, outreach. Double down on your outreach of anything. Okay. Because as we see economic downturns and recession and challenges, people are less likely to connect with you at the time because they're feeling the stress, hopefully, that you're not, because you've got that physical mental strength going on, right? So double down on your outreach. That way you're building reserves of contacts and people that you can do business with, because it'll start to dwindle. So this is another way that you can overcome adversity, right? It's a numbers game. If you're reaching out to more people, you're going to be able to collect on the ones that you might not have normally had. Okay. Now, if you've doubled down on that and you're falling short, then you need to look at ways that you can reach a little bit further beyond, whether that's your comfort zone or your sphere of influence, and start getting creative with it. Okay. And that's a great place for this community. If you feel like you're tapped out, we've got people in several states here. Don't be afraid to connect in the community. Don't be a bug, but be a value for value exchange. Can you help me with this? I'd be happy to help you with something else, right? But double down on your outreach. That way you've got the numbers to work with. Okay. The next thing is, it's almost assumable in business that you will have adversity at one time or another. So when it hits, be prepared for it. Don't have shock syndrome and stand there and do nothing. Have an action plan. Know what you're going to do. It's just like a fire drill. Okay, looks like I'm in the middle of adversity here in my business. What is my drill? What have I been practicing for? What do my reserves look like? I can handle this. I'm ready. I practice for it. Don't get caught off guard and freeze for a month, not doing anything. It's important that you push through it, fight through it, even if you got to ask a guy in a Subaru from Canada to haul you out of the desert. All right? Put your ego aside, ask for help, and don't freeze when adversity hits you. Matter of fact, just like in 75 Hard and some of the workout programs, it's time to double down there too. All right, what do I got to do to get out of this problem right now? What does that look like? Make a plan. Stick to the plan. Ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Admit that you're in a situation, whatever that looks like. People will be happy to help you and get you through the adversity. Remember, the goal is to get to the other side of this. The other side, because the other side does exist. And so many people will give up in the middle of adversity that it leaves a whole bunch more opportunity for you. So your own ability to get through it creates more opportunity, because chances are, if you're experiencing something in your industry, so are they. Never give up. During COVID, my wine business basically went to zero because we imported Mexican wines. We were in a growth phase before COVID hit. People were just experiencing the Valle de Guadalupe, which is an emerging wine region in Mexico. The wines are fantastic. We had glowing reviews, but yet a lot of people didn't know about it. Sales were going great. We were tracking to be up 15 to 20% for the first 2 years. Boom, COVID hits. All the buyers, if they weren't closed, or when they eventually opened back up because they were allowed to, especially in California, it took forever. The last thing they wanted to do is buy something that was unknown. So they would just buy their staple items and they weren't willing to try something different. But for me, I realized there'll be a time, if I can just stay in business, that I'll be ahead of all the other companies that closed and suffered during COVID and didn't have a plan. So what I basically did is I put the company on somewhat of a dormant phase, and then I paid the bills personally to make sure that the company stayed in business. So when the doors opened back up in a big way, we were able to take advantage of that. And we did. And we have since. We just finished the year up 32% in sales. And by the way, last year, or the last week of December, we took in the largest order from our distributor than we've ever had in the history of the company, even when things were good before COVID. So that's all to say that by investing a small amount of money during the adverse times, we were able to come out on the other side and find success there because we pushed through and we didn't close the doors. So again, I want to encourage you to do the same. There's a lot more that we can do to overcome adversity, but I would encourage you to look at your own businesses and the things that will keep you operating when it hits. And those things are what's going to keep you in business afterwards, because I just want to tell you, there is an afterwards. I'll give you one more fun story why Rod and Rachel can think about their responses and you guys can think about your questions. This story dates back to my time at Kettle One Vodka when I was the vice president of PR and marketing there. The company was started in 1691. It was in business for over 300 years. Okay, so it was 11 generations of family members that ran that company. Needless to say, at the peak of their business, World War II happened, and their business was in Schiedam, Holland, which is the largest port in the world for ships. And when World War II hit, of course, if you know history, the Germans took over Holland, Netherlands, and all those European countries in that area. And when the family, the Nolet family, literally saw the Germans coming and knew that they were on their way, what they were doing is seizing properties and living in them and calling them their own during the war. And they knew that that's what was going to happen. Part of the process for making Kettle One vodka, and nobody knows why, it's family secret, they've always done this. What they do is they store thousands of gallons of distilled spirits in tile-lined tanks underground. So this is part of their process. So what they decided to do is that they were going to seal off all their underground tanks and then cover them with a disguise so that the Germans wouldn't know that those tanks were filled with alcohol. So the Germans took over the distillery, World War II ends, and Kettle One vodka, or Ketelane, as the Dutch call it, they were the first distillery in all of Europe to be able to produce and bottle distilled spirits. Now, they were making gin at the time, it wasn't vodka. And the reason why is because they had sealed off those tile-lined tanks and they had thousands of gallons of vodka ready to go. Imagine the adversity that they were facing as the Germans were coming and to do who knows what, right? And they were clear enough to have a plan and be prepared for the inevitable, but also what might overcome afterwards by being able to sell their product, right? So, like I said, they were first to market after World War II. So pretty fascinating story. It's a little bit more to it. They housed a Jewish family in the distillery at some point, and that family gave back to them by doing all these murals within the distillery, which are pretty neat to look at, still there to this day. So, all right. Rod, do you want to weigh in on overcoming adversity? And then we'll go to Rachel.
Sure, I'll weigh in first. Thanks, Jim. I always appreciate the stories, and that racing story is awesome. My takeaway from that for tonight is from Wayne. He said there was lots of fun work involved in getting that adversity. So last time I spoke, I was talking about putting fun in the fundamentals. And here he was saying it was fun work. It was dirty, it was hard, it was late night, but you remember to put the fun in it. And that's what you remember at the end of adversity anyway, is the fun part of it. So some great points, good reminders. And I wanted to mention two things. First, that mental adversity is probably the hardest adversity that any of us face. It's not the economic stuff. It's not environmental adversity. It's not physical adversity. It's what's up in our heads. And you'll notice that. And I know I spent years in retail and wholesale where advertisers were coming to they wanted your advertising dollars, before it was all online, and you still were really predominant with it, especially mom and pops, with local advertising, with television and radio and newspaper ads. And when there was a slowdown, the reps that had a positive mental attitude would always get the business. You would get some of them that there were just, oh, it's slow, no one's buying, and they were in a funk. And well, of course you don't want to buy from those people. But it's the mental attitude, the people who came in and said, you know what? It is slow right now. And because it's slow, we're going to offer you an incredible deal. You know, we're going to give you 10 extra bonus spots on the radio. We're going to put you on plugs for, 24/7. We'll extend it for a week just to get some money in the bank. So my takeaway there is look for the opportunities that adversity brings. And there's always opportunity in adversity. The Kettle One found it in the tile tanks. We can find the opportunities, but it takes the mental headspace to do it. So those are my two big takeaways. My third is, and because I'm dealing with the mental adversity, I'm going to talk about addiction real quick. I used to smoke, and I think I've mentioned that on here before. Some people go, "What? You smoked?" I don't even think I know anybody who smokes anymore, but I smoked. I smoked cigarettes for years. I got addicted when I was a teenager, and I smoked in the military, and I smoked in college, and it's an addiction. And I've been told, I've never done heroin, but I've been told that it's nicotine is harder to kick, or as hard to kick as heroin and other opioids. I don't know, but I know it's hard. I know that I quit once for a year, and to celebrate, I had a cigarette, and I was addicted all over again. I mean, it's just, I beat it, and then one cigarette led to that. I was right back exactly where I left off. It doesn't, there's no middle ground, right? Either you're in or you're out. And so I quit again, and I quit for 10 years. And then I went through a period where I didn't feel good about myself. I just was in a dark spot, and self-destruct. I started smoking again. And the mental toughness it took to quit the next time was probably the worst. And just because I felt like I thought I beat it, and now it's beating me. It's beating me again. And it took people betting on me that I couldn't quit to get me to finally quit forever. And when the adversity is coming at you so strong that you just have to say, no, I'm not going to take it anymore. That's where you've got to just turn everything around in your head and say, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna push through this. It beat me before, it beat me twice before, it will not beat me this time. And so find that mental toughness that you need, that edge to get through the adversity. Look for the opportunity in that adversity, and then you're going to have the best stories to tell, because our best stories are always about the adversity. It's not about the great stuff. It's not about the vacations. It's about the adversity and how we got through it. So find a way to embrace that, and just know, man, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's going to help other people. You're going to be able to help other people when you get through that. So that's where the real money is, right there. And I'll turn it over to Rachel.
Thanks, Rod. And by the way, as Wayne said, we got one hell of a story to tell after that race. And so did Hot Rod. They had 7 pages to tell that story. So it was well worth it. So Rachel, what do you got?
All right. Well, those were both great. Rod, I had no idea that you were a smoker multiple times. Wow. I tried really hard to be a smoker in college. I really gave it the old college try to become a smoker, and I was playing college soccer, and my body was just like, no, this is not for you. So
I'm glad you failed that.
I did. Yeah. All right. So adversity. Well, I'm going to talk about my most recent adversity. We were going to start 75 hard beginning of the year, and I made it a while, and I've done it 3 times, right? I mean, I've done it. I know I can do it, but this time I didn't. I mean, here we are 15 days in, and I got to start over. I'm not ready to start over, but at some point I got to start over. I think I battle with myself a lot on this kind of stuff. So I'm gonna at some point pick myself back up from it. But I've learned a lot from 75 hard over the years. I love doing it. I just got to get in the right mental headspace. So I just haven't been there. But I do want to talk about something that's not really related to adversity, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna throw it out there. Last week I was at it was in Vegas for CES and the Traffic and Conversion Conference. And you guys, I mean, everything was fascinating to me. There was so much talk about AI, and I feel like I need to do like a special edition Friday, a Monday night coaching call that is all about AI and give you guys like 10 best AI platforms and how to work with them together for your business, right? Like what platform would you use to create and automate AI content? Or like, I'll give you a couple just tonight while we're chatting. 11 Labs is fantastic if you're looking to clone your voice. So you can use it for a fake voice, or I trained it with, I gave it 3 voice samples of me, one reading, one talking to somebody, and then one like with another kind of tonality. And I just created the audio version of my book all in AI, and it sounded really good. Now my first attempt, by the way, and after going through and cleaning up all the chapters last night at 10:30 when I was at my daughter's volleyball tournament that I had been at since like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I was like, ah, and I had spent like hours while I was there working on this. And then I realized after I exported it that it was in Japanese. So so granted, when I got home last night at like 11, I did not work out. I was tired and I was cranky and I just couldn't. But it also does a beautiful job in other languages. So if you wanted to do an audiobook or like a how-to guide or white paper and you wanted it in Spanish or in Japanese, 11 Labs will also do that for you, or English. So just got to make sure you pick the right language. And then there was this other tool that I thought was amazing for AI, where then you can upload your video and you can create an avatar of yourself that looks just like you, and then it will make your mouth move to the audio files. So I think I'm gonna put a guide in the back end of Yes. There was a new document that we uploaded today, actually, that Rod put together, and then we kind of polished it. It was oh God, my mind is blanking. Rod, what was it called again?
This is the college paper, How to Save Money on Tuition.
Yes. So
College guide.
that is now up there in the back end of the documents. And then the next one that I'm working on is AI tools to build your sales. So that's what's coming next. And I will talk all about that. The other one that I wanted to mention just quickly is called Opus. If you're not using Opus, I highly recommend you check that one out. It'll take like longer form content and splice it out for you into like little bite-sized pieces using AI, and that's pretty good. So wanted to mention that, and pretty good captions, and that one's really great. So if you guys have any questions, by the way, on AI, I am spending a lot of time in that space right now. So, don't hesitate as we kind of go into our open dialogue here. Can you put the AI format in the chat? You mean the link to like 11 Labs, Rod?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wish I had like a code or something to give you guys, like a special promo, but I don't. It's just the normal
So
link.
Rachel, can we lock you down to doing a special class on your next scheduled call, which I think is soon?
Yeah, definitely. I think it'll be really good for all of us because I know that we're all having a hard time with content creation and keeping up with it. And these are some great shortcuts that'll help us all. So that'll be my next topic.
Okay, how about so we're just on the fly here, everybody. So Rod's up next week. Why don't you take the following week and you can do AI that week? That way it's relevant.
Yeah, is that the 29th?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm driving between 3 sports practices that day.
Okay. Tell you
All
what,
right, we'll talk offline.
we'll go offline,
Yeah.
and then we're going to let everybody know when Rachel's going to do that. That way we can get the word out, because it's obviously really valuable. And there's a ton of tools out there, as creepy as they are. we don't want to be left behind either, and we want to use them for our own goodwill. Taylor's got a question, so we'll let her go.
Hey, thanks. Sorry, I feel like I'm always asking the questions here, but also not sorry because I'm getting my money's worth.
That's what we're here
out
for.
of you guys. That's right. Oh, I wanted to say, Jim, when you were talking about having an action plan for adversity in your business, I had never thought about that. So I'm so glad you said it, but it totally made sense in my mind. And what it made me think of immediately is what I tell people a lot in my business regarding self-defense and emergency prep. Like, always have a plan, always think about the hard stuff before it happens. And actually, I lived that out a couple of weeks ago. I was at the bank doing some business, and looking across the street in the park, there were a couple of people that were brawling, and it turned into just two guys. One guy knocked the other one unconscious and ended up doing chest compressions on him, and nobody was doing anything. There's people all over, there's cars passing by, nobody's doing anything. And I'm looking, I feel frozen, but I'm looking around the bank because we're like pretty close to where this happened, and everyone is frozen. And I literally said out loud, somebody needs to call 911. Nobody moved. So I stood up, got out my phone, even though it like made me nervous, and called 911. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I hadn't have thought about it before. And something I've learned is that we always, in an emergency, or when that fight or flight is triggered in our brain, we revert back to our most basic instincts. So if we have not exercised those muscles, whether it's in regular life or business, that just totally makes sense to me. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And then I have a question kind of unrelated to anything. I am curious about, I think I expressed last week that I'm trying to get on multiple social media platforms just for the free marketing this year. And I'm wondering, is it better to have, trying to think of how to ask this, is it better to have like totally different posts to show like a totally different side of our business between platforms, if that makes sense? Or say like I post a video to Instagram today, do I post the exact same video to YouTube or Facebook? Or is it best to have like a different dynamic depending on what platform I'm using?
I'll
That's
let
my question.
I'll let
I'll take
Rachel
that.
answer that in her way. But what I typically do from my side, and I don't post on too many multiple platforms at once, like what you're referring to, but I know what you're trying to accomplish, is I try to appeal to the audience of that platform, right? So what you put on TikTok is going to appeal to that type of audience versus what you might put on Facebook, which we know nowadays is skewing much older generationally. So that I want the messages to be, cohesive for that environment. Now, like in the political world, I'm going to kind of do the same message across the board on some of them because that's what I want to all genres of people. So I think you kind of, in my opinion, have to kind of gauge that platform and who you want to reach, what your target is with that message, and then decide if it requires something unique. So what are your thoughts, Rachel?
Two things. One is they are not penalizing people for posting the same content on all platforms. And there was discussion about that in the industry for a while, if the algorithm would unfavor you for that type of behavior, but that is not happening. So it's perfectly acceptable to do so. But I'm gonna mention something I may have said before, but your Facebook, your Instagram, those can be like a well-rounded assortment of your life and of your business, whereas YouTube and TikTok need to be specific and like one thing. Like they could, because it's a channel that's very specific and you're going to get fed to people who are looking for content like that. So I would put everything on TikTok and YouTube that's related to your primary topic. And then Instagram, I think you can be a little bit more lax. And if you wanted to throw in like a family photo or like you know, something more hobby related, like that's more generous in that space, or just reserve those for stories.
The other thing that I'd recommend based on what Rachel just said too is build yourself out a programming calendar for the year. So you know by channel what you're going to push out and what the messaging is in advance. I know you do all your own videos and stuff like that, which are all great, by the way. But if you program it out a little bit based on seasons, based on launches of different products, colors, etc., it makes your life a little bit easier to know what you need to post up. And then you'll see through the programming over a period of time, like you're consistently doing the same as she recommended on TikTok and YouTube. And then the others, you might say, okay, I'm going to do 1 family photo and then 3 business, whatever that looks like, but program it all out, be organized with it. Okay. So,
Okay,
all right.
great. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. And look, we're here for you to ask questions. So the thing doesn't work unless people are asking questions.
Did
You
you pick a publishing platform yet?
Who'd you ask that to?
I want to know if Taylor picked a publishing platform.
Oh, you mean like a social media platform?
No, for scheduling your stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Are you scheduling
No,
ahead?
I haven't yet.
All
I
right,
need to get way more content.
got it. Okay.
So
all right.
that's my starting point. Yeah, but it's on my to-do list written out. So thank you.
Yeah, just curious.
Yeah, thank you for checking.
Taylor, sometimes grabbing, what you're going to publish it on, like Sked, it, kind of works like a calendar and it'll force you into getting your content done. You're going to go, wow, there's a lot of white space here. And so
Yes.
it provides kind of that empty Outlook calendar. I wanted to say one more thing about adversity in your businesses, and maybe you're kind of feeling like there's some adversity there that you need to overcome. The value again is in being community or having coaches or other people in your life is don't be afraid to ask what people might see or let them know what you're feeling so that they can bring some value. I took a coaching call on a tequila business the other day, and the call lasted an hour, and because of my experience, I was able to give him 10 pointers in the call. And he goes, Jim, you've given me more in this hour than I've heard in the last 6 months in my business. A lot of that has to do with my experience, but he hadn't been told of the issues that were surfacing that he didn't even realize that they were there. But because I'm an outsider hearing what he's telling me, I was able to identify that. And oftentimes we might think that we're having some adversity or we're having a slow season. All it takes is to get an outside opinion to look at your business and be transparent with them and get an opinion. And you might find that there's an easy solution to that as well. So leverage this community, leverage us, if that's what you need or that's what you're feeling, that's what this is all about. So we're going to do a call. I didn't tell Rod and Rachel this, but it was a recommendation from a member in the upcoming month or so. And it's going to be, tell us your wins and losses. I think you get a lot of our stuff, you get some of our history, some of our wins and losses, but we'd like to hear from you guys what some of your wins and losses are, and to help flesh those out, or just to know that you're having wins and losses, and just helps build the community. So be ready for that coming up one day. The
other thing I wanted to mention is I got asked recently from a client to do an audit of their LinkedIn profile. And I thought that was a great request. And I looked at her LinkedIn profile and I have tons of, recommendations. I mean, she has never done any posts, so that's a miss. She doesn't have any, what do you call it? Like recommendations from any colleagues. She doesn't have any honors and awards. It's like, oh my God, her header image is really blurry. It's like, oh my God, like these are little things that, she just needs some direction on. So if you guys need a LinkedIn audit, or you want to go through your LinkedIn profile together, we can do that too. Just throwing it out there.
Great point. I know people like Jim Spilson use his LinkedIn a lot. So yeah, always refresh is a good reminder. All right. I'd like to put Heidi on the spot for a minute. Heidi, if you don't mind. Can you throw a couple health tips our way, fitness tips our way? I know that that's your world during this winter season, so that we can help overcome some adversity. And just would love to hear from you anyhow.
I appreciate that, Jim. Thanks. Well, first of all, I want to acknowledge, for some people, that 75 hard will work, but for some people, that will not work. Because they may have always been linked in to doing more, and then when they don't, they end up, quitting. So something is always better than nothing.
Yeah.
So I always suggest at least getting in that 30 minutes of some type of cardio movement a day, and then definitely hitting your entire body throughout the week with your strength training. So especially during the winter when it's so dark and cold. So if you can do something in your own home, that's great. One of the best workouts to display that is called the 7-minute workout. Have you guys ever tried the 7-minute workout?
No.
No. Okay, there's a great app. Just go to the App Store, 7-minute workout. Download that. It's free. And that right there is the bee's knees. You do that once, twice, 3 times, and you're good to go. The American Heart Association says, if we get 75 minutes of HIIT type training in a week, we are good to go as far as a C+ average. We have a lot of A type high performers here. So, but as far as our health and being able to make sure that we're good to go within our body and our systems, that's great. And then getting at least 150 minutes of cardiovascular type movement. So that heart rate's about 120 beats per minute in that. And so then that really then hits your dopamine, your serotonin, and your endorphins, and really helps to fight that seasonal depression. And then, use your body, do those planks, do those push-ups. I like to set reminders on my phone. So if I'm really going to work at my office, I make sure that every hour on the hour, I'm getting up and moving for about 5 minutes or so. So hydration, get that water in at least 100 ounces a day at the least. And vegetables, 5 cups a day, 2 fruits, protein. You should be getting at least a gram of protein per lean body weight. So, and that's something, if you're in the area, I have an InBody 570 scan. Come on by, it's on me. We'll do an InBody scan. And we'll tell you exactly what you're made of as far as your skeletal muscle mass, your percentage of body fat, and your basal metabolic rate. And when you have those measures, you're basically unstoppable to know what you need to do to be the best version of yourself. And get some sleep and take your supplements and pray and let go. That's all I got.
I love it. No, it's awesome. Awesome. I've only heard of the 7-minute workout. I've never looked into it, but what a great tool. And I do agree with Heidi, because we do talk about 75 hard in here a lot. It's something that we're passionate about. It's not for everybody. And you certainly, if you started it and you quit and you started and you quit, keep quitting, you're going to develop a habit of quitting and you're not going to be anywhere. So finding something that does fit you and your lifestyle is really important. Heidi, again, I've said it before, I love your website, love what you're doing. I appreciate that you're here. And I might, don't threaten me with a good time to figure out what my body's made up of. Still trying to figure that out some days.
Get in here. Come over.
I love it. I love it. So, but I just feel like, again, to help overcome adversity and things that come our way, everybody, be healthy. It's probably the least expensive thing you can do. Like she said, the 7-minute workout is a free app. Okay. You can get cardio anywhere. That's free. And eating healthy is just as easy as eating bad. So, focus on eating healthy. Rod, you want to, and then we'll wrap it up after Rod.
Yeah, real quick. I just wanted to mention the InBody. You can change what's inside of you in such a short period of time. I had the InBody done at Cardiac Rehab toward the end of October. And by the end of December, I had changed everything inside of me structurally. And and I missed a lot of, they wanted me 3 days a week and I went like 1. But it's just that turning things and focusing. Once you see what's going on the inside and you can focus on that, it makes a huge difference. So anybody who's in the area, and if you've not done an InBody, find somebody who can do it if you're not in our area. It's pretty incredible. So good plug there, Heidi.
Like this. It's like this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing technology.
Mhm.
And Rachel, I think I'm going to pick your brain outside of the group here about some things I'm working on, and then if it's relevant to the group after, I'll go down that road. But I'm excited about the AI, so I'm excited to be working on that content. Thanks.
Right on. Thank you, Rudd. Heidi, do you sign an NDA? I don't know if I want people to know what's in my body.
Well, I would say between you and I. No, it's awesome. Because, I mean, like, okay, I'm asking a question. Go ahead, answer. How many calories is in a pound of fat? How many calories do you need to burn and to lose a pound of fat?
Oh, good question. No
Anyone?
idea.
That's 3,500 calories
Mm.
in 1 pound of fat. So, and to gain 1 pound of muscle takes 700 calories. Yeah, so it's kind of like a play on things. So if you get your macros dialed in correctly for your body type, that's where the magic happens. So, yeah.
I will attest to the macros, and knowing what your body's made up certainly going to make it a lot easier. I know exactly what my macros are, and it's not, it's hard to hit, but all right. Well, look, I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. And if you're listening afterwards, I want to thank you for listening afterwards. The point is, when adversity comes your way, you do have the strength and the ability to overcome that, but plan for it. Be prepared. As Taylor said, this is something that we don't often think about, but it's important to think about. And never, ever give up. Lean on this group. If you need it, we're here for you. And let's get through this year in a positive fashion, all coming out ahead. So then when we charge into 2025, we're way ahead of the competition. Okay, so don't let adversity get in your way. If you need me, need Rachel, Rod, reach out to us. And we'll see you guys next week. Thank you.